Hi guys, this is a layout that I've done for Bon Bon Scraps Layout Challenge. And I used my Studio Calico Elmwood Park Monkey Bars kit. And there's the challenge right there. You had to use a summer layout, it had to include ink, and it had to, what was the last thing? Have handwritten journaling. So there I am going through my Elmwood Park Studio Calico kit, and I have the Monkey Bars add-on as well. And so I'm just picking out letters and embellishments and papers. At this point, I have no clue what I'm going to be doing. Most of my layouts work that way. Occasionally, I have a sense at the beginning, and when I do, I tell you, but usually I don't have any clue. Um, and so here I'm just making some background paper choices, and I'm going to actually tell you in the video what I was thinking at this point. Okay guys, so I thought I'd say a few things that I might forget when it comes time to narrate. Firstly, I just noticed this one little square in this grid pattern. You can't even notice it from far away, but there's one single square that is different, and I love that. That is awesome. That takes this paper from boring to a little less boring. So I definitely want to use this for something, for a background, and maybe highlight this in some way, or I'm not sure. But I do like that. I love little hidden details. It's one of my favorite things. I like to put details in my layouts and stuff. So here's what I'm kind of trying to decide between these three different background papers. This one, I think it might be good if I were to do a very, very minimal. I love the look of a white background on a layout that has very minimal embellishments and just kind of like lots of bold lettering and stuff. I think that looks really cool. The only problem is that I'm going to use this "Hey You" as part of my title, and it's on like a linen background, if you can see, and it's not entirely white, so I'm not sure if I'm going to pull in more elements with that. They're not going to look great with a stark white background like that, so I think that tells me no, I'm not going to use this, so I'll put this away for another layout, which leads me to either this one or this one. I like a couple of things about this one. It has a similar shade of white to the button that I want to use. So it's not stark white, but it's also not cream. It's kind of just a dirty white, which I like. And I think the blue and the sky and the blue in the sky and the blue in the grid look really good together. So I'm kind of leaning towards this one. But I'm also a little bit leaning towards this one. This one also works with the dirty white background in the "Hey You" pin. And I really love gray and yellow together, and I'm going to be doing some yellow lettering on this one. So I'm kind of trying to decide, but I don't need to well, I need to do my spraying, so I do need to decide. Yeah, so this is kind of like a darker background, and this is a brighter background, which kind of fits with the bright summer day. This was at a Canada Day fair. So I think this is the one that I'm going to go with. I just want to make sure I don't cover up that. And I don't know if I'm going to draw attention to it or leave it as one of those hidden details in the layout. I might even just go around it with marker, just with a very light marker or something. Anyways, so that's my thought process. Back to... Okay, so now that I've decided on the grid pattern, I needed to choose some colors for my spray. I'm using watercolor, and that's custard and overdue. And I chose those based on the pattern paper that I had picked out. That patterned, it's kind of a chevron piece, is by Echo Park for Studio Calico. It's called Sweet Day, and I love it. And so I knew I wanted to use it on this layout. And so I'm just cutting a strip off of it right here, and then I'm going to make that strip even smaller once I kind of size it up. So there we go, taking another strip off of it, and I think I might have even made it smaller than that. But then I had to add some sprinkles to that because it was standing out as kind of being too obviously layered after the fact, so I wanted to put some sprinkles on there. And what am I doing now? Oh yes, I am cutting it down so it'll fit on the page. I wanted it kind of down from the top a little bit. And yes, that's just a file folder that I use so that I don't mark on my mat, because my old mat, you might remember, was filled with tons of stuff, and I'm trying to keep this one neat for as long as I can. So I'm doing some outlining around the main piece of pattern paper and around the background piece, and trying to decide on where I'm going to place those photos. And that helps me decide where to put that piece of patterned paper. And I'm just showing you how that looks. Now I'm going to start to figure out my title, and those yellow Eric thickers I love. I just love those. So I knew I wanted to use them, and I wanted to use the denim ones for the word not, just so that that would kind of stand out in the title. And so the title of this is going to be Hey You, You're Not 23 Anymore. And it's a reference to just me being on that silly ride and thinking that I could handle it when I couldn't. I'm just repackaging my thickers there. Sorry that that happened on screen, but that's how I keep my thickers now, in 12 by 6 clear bags like Kate suggested, Crafting Kate. And so now I'm just placing down my photos and trying to figure out the placement of the letters relative to the photos. And I didn't want them to hang off the edge. I think at first I was lining them up so that they kind of spanned over the background paper and the photo, but then I decided, since there was enough room, that I would just put them all on the photo, and I really like how that looks. I really like how it turned out. So what I love about the Eric font is that it's not really formal, so you don't have to worry about lining up your words, your letters. They look okay when there's one or two of them astray, and that's good because I tend to put things astray by accident, so it's good when you can just kind of go with it. That's a piece of Echo Park paper just from my scraps. I picked it because it's a red that matches the red in that Echo Park patterned chevron paper, and I just ran it through my Big Shot with the Stampin' Up! Tasteful Trims border die, and my purpose of doing that was to get that zigzag, which I wanted to put above and below the title, but in doing so I accidentally got that red scallop because that was beside it, and I really liked the look of it, and it happened to be the right length, so I'm putting the scallop in there beside that pattern paper. And then I just took a piece of that triple dot black paper that I love so much. That's the back side of the Nostalgia collection by My Mind's Eye paper that came in the kit, and so I'm just adding a strip of that to that's actually from the manufacturer's strip. I didn't want to cut into the paper in case I wanted to use it for something else, but then later on in this same layout I ended up cutting into the paper, so I probably could have afforded to take a strip out of the 12 by 12, but I didn't want to at that point. So I just outlined. You really can't see the black outlining on the blackish paper, but if you look really close you can see it, and I like that kind of a touch. So I'm just going to put a little bit more up in the top corner, and what that piece does is it extends my cluster, what's going to be a cluster eventually, over to that little square with the circles in it, that little square in the background paper that's a little bit different. And so now I'm kind of trying to think. I know that that space above the banner is definitely not, it needs something else, but first I'm going to cut another scallop because I wanted to put scallop on both sides of that paper instead of just on one side, which was my initial plan. So I just cut a bit more of the scallop border with that die, and now I'm just gluing it all into place. I'm going to glue that one into place. And just sticking that one in there. And now that My Mind's Eye banner piece, that's a wood like a wood veneer um, piece. I was trying to decide what I was going to do with it. If I was going to put a circle, and then I wanted to use those tabs and they didn't work at all. And then I thought maybe this is where I kind of decided, okay, I'll put these two pieces of ephemera. The pinkish one was in the kit, and then the white one is actually from the Canada Day event that the picture's from. And so then I just wanted to test and see what that marker would look like on my, if it was the right width. I'm using the 0.01 width for those American Crafts Precision pens, which write really smoothly on photos. In fact, they write so smoothly that I find my writing is even messier than it normally is. I don't like my handwriting, and so I find it very difficult writing on the shiny surfaces of a photo, just because the marker just runs way faster than what I want it to. So it's hard to take your time and be neat. So now I knew I needed some other embellishments besides just those two pieces of ephemera. But first I needed to change the color of the wood, and so I'm putting some of that water cooler Mr. Huey's, and then I thought about splattering, and then I thought, no, I don't want to splatter, so I spread it out with a paintbrush. That's just a dry paintbrush I'm using there, and then I end up going way overboard with the Mr. Huey's, and it ends up being way too dark for the layout. You'll see me put it on there, and it just really stands out, and I didn't want it to stand out quite that much. See how it's really, yeah, it's a lot. So now I'm going to go back to my little box and put some white on it. And here, oh yes, I'm looking for my spray. It got lost on my craft table, so that's what that was all about. I finally found it and added lots of white, and that actually makes that water cooler look quite a bit creamier, which is kind of nice for this layout. I like how it turned out. Probably better than if I had put less layers of the water cooler and not used the white. It gives it a nice creamy texture. I like it. Happy accident. So now what am I doing? I always surprise myself in these videos. I don't always remember the process myself. So I am cutting some of that awesome chevron paper. I mean, that is one of the nicest papers I've seen in a long time. That's from the American Craft Shoreline collection, which I had not bothered with because seemed a little themey for me, and I don't do many beach layouts, but I got to get me some more of that paper. That is really nice paper. So, so yes, I used a punch to cut the circle that I'm now outlining, and I used another punch. I think I used a Marvy punch for the circle, a Stampin' Up punch for the scallop, and a Stampin' Up punch for that heart. That heart is cut. I just made a mistake outlining and decided to start again. That paper is from last month's kit. I didn't get to use it last month, so I just kind of pulled up the corners so that both the heart and the scallop are kind of looking old, like the ephemera pieces are. And I'm just layering them there. And I'm thinking about putting a cabochon on there, but I can't decide if I wanted to go with one of those huge ones or a little one. And then I pulled out a few other cabochons that I had from something else. They were the wrong colors though, so I didn't go with that. Then I thought about putting some buttons up there in the corner, but I ended up deciding against it. Went with the peach colored cabochon on that little cluster of embellishments, and I really love that cluster. I really like how it turned out. And now I'm going to fiddle with that top cluster and try to figure out what I want to do. I definitely want to draw your eye out towards that little square in the graph that has different paper, but I'm kind of trying to figure out how to do that. I love buttons, but I never can figure out how to use them. I'm not good at using them effectively. So I went with some more heart punches, the small ones, that's also from Stampin' Up. And I'm just going to layer two hearts and one of those twinkle goosebumps. And after I've got the embellishment made, there it is. Whew, that was fast. I'm going to fuss a little bit with where I'm going to put it, and then I end up putting it there. And I think that really nicely brings your eye out to that spot that I wanted you to see. And what do I have left to do? Oh yes, this is where I realized that that block of pattern paper is just too plain and I need some more layers. So I decided to go with a couple of strips. First I take that pink Nostalgia chevron paper, chevron-ish paper, I don't know what you'd call that. I'm going to cut another scallop out of the triple dot, that dark gray paper, and just put that on one side of the paper. Although I had the bottom piece has scallops on both sides, I wanted the top pieces not to have scallops because I knew they'd be right against the photo and I thought that would be busy. That second piece is the back side of that colorful chevron strip that I love so much, and by Echo Park. And it's covered in sunshiny words like sunshine, fun, bliss, those sorts of things. And so I just cut a third scallop. This is using a Stampin' Up! Border punch. And I'm just outlining that piece. And then I'm going to attach the last little scallop strip. I was going to put 2 scallops and then I decided to just do the one. And that Stampin' Up! Border punch, I think it's called dotted lace, is a really nice teensy weensy scallop if you cover up the dotted part of it. It makes a really cute little scallop edge. So now I have 3 different sizes of scallops on this layout, and it needed one more thing. It was just kind of that word paper was just too stark, and so I pulled out my favorite Creative Memories border punch thingy, and I love that shape, but I always feel the need to outline it. I just feel like it needs the outlining. So it's tedious. So this is not my favorite thing to do, but I think it does make a difference in the overall look of that shape, so it's worth it. So I'm just going to put some tape on. Sorry, I'm out of frame here. I forgot to zoom out. And then I'm just going to pull it all up so that it looks a little bit more worn. And then here is the close-up. So there you get to see the title in that top cluster, and then here's the bottom cluster. I think that wood piece really gives a good background for those embellishments there. So thanks for watching, guys.
I'm so brave, too bad I'm a baby. I'm so fly, that's probably why it feels just like I'm falling for the first time.